Thursday, February 21st. Had to get over the Wednesday hump there. Usually I always say the wrong date, Chris, the day of the week, and people don't even notice. But hey, it is Thursday today. I got it right this time, guys. Welcome back to the Keep PounDEN podcast, part of the Riot Network, powered by our friends, of course, over at Ortho Carolina. I'm your host, Den. You can find me at Keep PounDEN on Twitter and all the fun social network stuff. Chris is here as well. He's at Peppajack NBB. We're without Bobby again. This is 2 weeks in a row, but no worries. He'll be back soon. And you can listen to, subscribe, and or watch the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and over on theriotreport.com. Lots to get through tonight. Jared Feinberg will join us in just a little bit, as he has been doing each week, to talk about the draft season and to tackle another position tonight in the draft. We'll leave the surprise up to when Jared calls in, rather. And for you Roaring Riot members, don't forget to hop over to Anytime Fitness for your discounted membership price, free personal sessions, and more, available right now only to Roaring Riot members. Work hard, tailgate harder, Chris. You know how that is, right?
Oh, yeah. Man, tailgating. I love that word.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway, we're going to hop into a bunch of things tonight. We have our new little sideboard here that we haven't used in a while. And we're going to throw up some topics up there. These are going to be the topics we're going to go over tonight. We're going to hit some free agency. Chris, I know you have a ton to talk about this week with the Hurricanes.
Yeah, it's a big week for the boys in Raleigh.
So I'm going to let you take that one. We'll talk about Cam over at the All-Star game. We're going to have a fun little drafting of the Panthers for a basketball team, and then we'll question some reporters this week, as we always do. But thanks for hopping on, Chris. Good to hear you again. I'm getting the feeling that you're like swamped with work. Is that true?
Work,
you holding
life,
up over there? Yeah. All right.
You name it.
All right. Well,
but who's not though?
No, you're right.
Let's be real.
Yep. No, you're right. So, well, let's get into work, I guess, and who's going to have some work cut out for them here on the Panthers. You know, when you start talking about March 13th is a couple weeks now. What, 3 weeks?
Right around the corner.
Yeah, and a lot of the players right now are right on that line. I mean, everyone's talking about Captain Munderland, Torrey Smith, Matt Khalil, perhaps. And again, that date is March 13th. You know, when you start talking about players that also we don't really know how they could be. Like I think Ross Cockrell, we're going to get to him later in the podcast, how important of a piece he is for the Panthers, if he can be good. And the scary thing is him and a lot of guys, we just don't know. Williams is another one that could, hold a big piece, yet it's a kind of a scary move to just go make. You don't want to throw, as they say, Matt Khalil money at some of these people. If I throw it over to you, like who's a shoo-in for not making this team next year? Or is there anyone that you would be shocked if they do bring back out of some of those names that I named? Even Mike Adams is one, I guess, too, right?
I put Mike Adams at less than 2%, and I think that's probably high for some people. Captain's under contract.
He is 37 years old. That doesn't work in the NFL?
I mean, it's not optimal. No getting around that. But I would say last year with Mike Adams, it wasn't necessarily like his speed or anything like that cost us last year. It just seemed like he was constantly out of position.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's more knowing where you're supposed to be. And for a savvy 37-year-old veteran, that shouldn't be the issue. I can live with you getting burned because you're Roman Harper and you're old, but in order to get burned, you got to be in the right place. So, but with those guys that are under contract, I still think that they're going to move on from Matt Khalil, even though it's going to cost us, I think it cost us $2 million more than what it would be if we kept him around.
So the good thing about Matt Khalil is that is not a March 13th decision. That comes, it comes later, I would think, because there's that June date.
Yeah.
That, you can save some significant money. So nothing will happen until June with Matt, right?
June 1st cuts are so last year, if you remember, when we cut Kurt Coleman, everybody freaked out because it was dead cap. You can cut somebody before June 1st. You just have to designate them a June 1st cut. So that allows the player, they know they're going to be cut, but they can go negotiate a new contract.
Okay.
That's essentially what that means.
Okay. Well,
But you asked about captain.
mhm.
I don't think captain's here next year. As much as I hate to say it, I'm not sure that Torrey Smith is. Well, I could see him getting released and then coming back on a more team friendly deal because $5 million is rich for what we're getting production wise.
Well, and that goes for a lot of them. I mean, you're looking at Mike Adams, you're looking at Torrey Smith, you're looking at Captain Munnerlyn, all veterans who have a significant cap hit. It's not like you're letting go of a couple rookie guys here, and I think that does go such a long way. But then it's who do you bring in? So yeah, I think that I at least think that Captain is one of them. And some people out there like Captain Munnerlyn. I never really liked. I mean, obviously him as a person is a different thing. Him as a football player. Everyone used to throw out years ago on his first stint that he led the team in tackles, and to me that's not necessarily always a great stat. Yeah. I mean, if you're letting your guy catch the ball, and actually he actually had one of the lowest separation averages, meaning basically he was there on every play, but just couldn't break it up, or just what I mean. I couldn't make a play on the ball, and I hope he'll tackle the guy. So separation wasn't an issue with him. It was more of making a play on the ball, and I think it's just time to bring someone else in there.
Yeah, I mean, we brought him in to be the kind of that missing piece in that nickel role, and it hasn't worked out. He's not worth what he's getting. I don't know that he was ever worth the contract that he got out of Minnesota all those years ago. But just time to move on.
Yeah. And a couple guys, even when you start looking around the offense in the backfield, a lot of guys just kind of up in limbo. I mean, we've talked about Cameron Artis-Payne. We talked about Fozzie Whitaker. I mean, when you start thinking about free agency of the Panthers, a team that doesn't necessarily say make the splash, there's going to be a lot of, it seems like, a lot of turnover in positions, whether it's free agency and or the draft. I mean, I'm talking about skill positions, cornerbacks, running backs, not so much the trenches. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that most of those guys we've just talked about can be easily replaced with fourth or later round picks. I just my favorite saying when we talk about rosters, it's younger and cheaper. Mm-hmm. And this team needs to get younger, and they need to get younger in a hurry.
So not Landon Collins, not
Landon Collins, not Tremaine Johnson.
But you're looking for some draft guys. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, facts are facts. We've got a couple guys that we got to start worrying about paying next year at this point. Because I think, is Luke's last year under contract next season? And then he's up, or is it Cam's up first?
That's a good question. I think.
Oh, shit, that's my job.
Yeah, that is your job. I feel like I want to say Cam's up first, but I don't know. Yeah. Chris has a lot of responsibilities tonight. One of them is monitoring Twitter because a couple more weeks we have to deal with not being able to pull your comments in live. Total software thing. Softwares fight each other. Twitter doesn't want you going live on Facebook, vice versa. So they make updates. We have to keep up with them. But comments will be coming back on the screen, I promise you. But, Chris, you were saying that's your new job is to monitor Twitter. Cam's
got 2 years left, so Luke's got one. I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go. Well, hey, let's switch it over. You're getting in the sin bin with Chris is getting its big time break here this week on the main board.
We're leading in?
Yeah, and I actually remembered it this week, but also just due to the social media part of it, the whole bunch of jerks thing. I'm not even going to intro this for you. I'm just going to push this whole topic over to you. This first update the Canes and this whole bunch of jerks. I guess fiasco, or maybe that's not the right word for it, but fun time you guys are having.
Hullabaloo.
Yeah, there you go. Because it's a good time, but it does kind of coincide with the Panthers. Obviously, the 2015 year. The photos were classless. Cam's dabbing and mom's writing letters. Hockey, like I brought that analogy when I said Blades of Steel. And dude, in Blades of Steel, like literally one team would leave the ice and the other team would like do a celebration in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's been around since like before the 90s. And now the Canes doing it in real life, having fun, getting their fans to stay. Win or lose, I mean, I would assume that it keeps I don't go to the games like you do, but just kind of all your thoughts on all of this. What's going on over there with the storm surge and all?
So, I try to stay out of the comments. I think most people with level heads try and stay out of the comments on anything online. But boy, I tell you what, after they won on Friday night and then it did the baseball celebration and then won again on Saturday, that just set off a firestorm.
I was going to say, you have one chance to hit the puck. Like, if you miss, it's kind of...
Oh, no, he didn't throw it. It was an imaginary puck.
Oh, I thought he actually threw a puck and he hit it.
No, that'd be dangerous.
Oh, well, not really. I mean, how far are you going to hit it?
Who knows? He's a professional athlete.
It's true. Okay. I thought there was a real puck involved. My bad.
No. So, but anyway, it set off, hockey's resident curmudgeon, Don Cherry. He really didn't like that this was drawing attention to the players. And Google Don Cherry, for those of you who don't know who he is.
He's a very humble, not looking for attention sportscaster.
Yeah, that's the guy that said they should be ashamed of themselves for drawing attention to themselves.
Yeah.
Or even better, Google Don Cherry murder suit, because that's my favorite one.
I don't have to do that, though, Chris, because you tweeted it out. So at PeppaJackNBB, you can quickly find the murder suit. Because you probably don't want to be Googling murder suit. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Don Cherry in there, you'll be fine.
Okay.
It's probably a pretty common search. So anyway, then it's just this firestorm online of, mostly Canadian hockey fans. It seems like most of the American fans are behind it, and I don't know what that says culturally, but I got into it with a few people, and again, I try and stay out of the comments, but they're like, Toronto would never do this. Well, Toronto hasn't been relevant since the 60s. We've won more cups in my life. Well, shit, we've won more cups in most people's lifetimes because they haven't won since the 60s. So then the next thing is they say, well, they're doing this to put butts in the seats. I don't think people are spending the amount of money that hockey tickets and parking and snacks and mozzarella sticks and all that. They're not spending $400 to go out there and then for a chance that they're going to celebrate. Right. People are coming back because they're winning. This team was mismanaged almost since the day they hoisted the cup. I mean, it was bad. And we had an owner who didn't even live in the town, came to like one game a year, and now we've got a hands-on young guy really into analytics, and hockey didn't like some moves he made because, cowboy from Texas going to come in here and change how we do things. Well, we don't like that. But they're winning at the end of the day, and that's what's drawing again. I've lived in Raleigh for 10 years, and I probably get to 15, 20 games most years. This year it's well over that, just because it's been fun again, and it's amazing that people will spend their hard-earned money when the product's good, when they know that ownership actually cares about winning. But beyond that, I think most people, and I've had a bunch of our friends, Justin reached out to me about the Bunch of Jerks shirt. And, this is
Do you have one?
Oh, yeah. I
sent
you a picture of it earlier.
Well, I thought that just might have been a photo of, it. Because you did correct me. I wrote bunch with an A.
Yeah, and I called it out. Your Boston.
Is that a Boston thing?
Well, anything with A is.
Well, that's different than...
Okay, I'm sorry. New England was showing.
No, but I mean, like, you adding an A instead of an R is New England, but like bunch of and bunch of. I don't know if that's New England. But you did correct me. You did correct me.
But yeah, it's drawing attention to the team. They had a pretty good crowd on Tuesday night against the Rangers. The Rangers are always going to draw because of all the transplants. They didn't win that game. But one thing you said about was like people sticking around. Not only are people sticking around, but the opposing fans are sticking around.
Yeah.
There's games where we've had a 2-3 goal lead at with a minute to play, and normally you're going to at least try and get a minute jump on traffic, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned in like really, I mean, yeah, it's hockey talk, but it really kind of goes into all sports talk. How your son, like, obviously he must love that. That's cool to him, yeah. And I never experienced a team, and I'm not saying that this is right or we didn't celebrate, but I've never experienced a team do that, and I can only imagine what it's like for young kids to see that. And now I'm like, honestly, I told you I used to be into hockey more than football. I was like the biggest Bruins fan. I'm just keeping up with the regular season now is just exhausting. But I think with all this, the sin bin here, and with all this, I've been following the Hurricanes. I think I'm like back into hockey. I might go buy NHL 19.
Do it, man.
Yeah, and Start playing hockey stuff again.
I can finally play you guys online in a game.
There you go.
Wait, you have PlayStation, right?
I do.
Oh, yeah. Still can't play you. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So, but anyway, the Canes just wrapped up against Florida, 4-3 win.
There you go.
Justin Williams scored a goal off his face. Got a couple. No, I'm not joking. He really did.
It's always a good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's a man's goal, though, you know. But he ended up scoring another one after he came back in after a couple stitches on the cheek. But the Canes are playing hot. You know, they've got the best record in the league since the calendar turned to 2019. Mm-hmm. They've got the most goals in the league in that period. I think in the last 10 were 7-3, which not perfect, but no, that's what you got to do, man. You got to stack points.
Yeah,
and they're beating for the most part. Their last two losses were against the Devils and the Rangers, two teams way behind us. But you know, for the most part, they've just really got it figured out. This was a young team with a few veterans in key positions and a rookie head coach. It's not going to happen overnight. And I do think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think in years past when they haven't made the playoffs, it's just been that total lack of anything to hold on to. Mm-hmm. Even if this team doesn't win, people are going to remember this team because of the storm surge.
Yeah.
They're going to remember them for the fun they've had, you know?
Dude, look at us in 2015. Honestly, exactly. Like the photos, we talk about the mom writing the Cam letter.
Shout out Rosemary.
That writes a story for you, and if they can win, it'd just kind of be the icing on the cake, if you will. How's that?
Yeah, I was texting with our pal Dan, you know, Panther legend, on Sunday. You know, I just texted him like, man, what have the last 48 hours been? How much fun have the last 48 hours been for you? And he said something I can't say, but it was funny. And you know, we talked about the shirt, and he had told me like 24 hours in, and they had sold that shirt in 48 states. Wow. and all over the world.
That's awesome.
So. And it's already popping up on Twitter. You know, people, you know, at the game tonight in Florida wearing the shirt. Mm-hmm. Somebody ran into Brian Burke, another, you know, hockey curmudgeon, and you know, made him hold up the shirt. So it's cool. It's a good time to be here. You know, I think that even if they don't make the playoffs, I think that salary cap wise, we're in great shape. We've got a lot of young prospects. I mean, the team's coming up, man. Team is coming up. So I know that's the longest sin bin we've ever done.
I was going to say, we're getting ready to cut you off on the sin bin here. We've never had to do that before.
But it's this would be perfect time.
You're excited, though.
Your dump button could be the goal horn. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought it was supposed to be explosions and
no, that's the intro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the intro.
Well, you know, it obviously is great for just the state. I mean, I guess you could even say maybe Charlotte. A lot happening, you know, in the same week. I mean, NBA All-Star game there at the same time. Cam,
big spotlight on North Carolina.
Huge. I mean, and from what I gather, I obviously wasn't there with like people worried about traffic and all that. Everything went pretty well. I think it was a win for the city of Charlotte and North Carolina in general. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it seemed like everything that I saw online was positive. I think, you know, Charlotte's got its own traffic problems, and when you close down Uptown like they did, it's just going to compound those. But it seemed like everybody was having fun. It was great seeing, you know, some of the social media stuff like Thomas and Kelly Davis playing spades with Russell Westbrook and who else were they playing with? But just seeing stuff like that, that's not everyday stuff.
Well, and then even it carried over to last night. I mean, a lot has been going on in your state. Duke at UNC last night. And I do have to say it, you did call a UNC blowout.
Yeah.
The whole shoot thing and everything.
I didn't call two blowouts. Yeah. I called one blowout. I didn't call two.
And I'm not on either side here, but does Duke get an asterisk for that or no?
No.
No.
Okay, so hear me out. Is Zion the best player in the country? Yes. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. Zion is probably the best player that Duke's done nothing but recruit for the last 5-6 years. They've adopted the one and done thing, and you know, so the game just ended a few minutes ago, but they've got it's dad's trip, so all the dads in the suite at the Panthers game tonight just did the storm surge.
There you go.
So they've taken the show on the road, but sorry, that totally old guy's floss. It just took my thought away. What was I going on with?
You were talking about Zion. Yeah.
Zion, and he's a monster. And I would the game have been different if he was there? Absolutely. But fact of the matter is, Duke had the number one recruiting class this year before Zion even committed. He committed on the last day. You know, Cam Reddish and R.J. Barrett are both and Trey Jones. Those are first round picks. They're going to have 4 first round picks and likely 3 guys in the top 4. Could be 3 Duke guys, 1, 2, and 3 this year in the draft. So me, what I saw last night was that Mike Krzyzewski just didn't. He looked like the deer in the headlights.
Didn't know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah. They talked to some of the players after the games, and they're like, we didn't know he was out until halftime. We thought he was just going to get another pair of shoes and coming back, but he never did. Krzyzewski did not make great in-game adjustments on that. That's the greatest coach of all time, and he didn't have an answer. Duke is a 9-point favorite. I'm sorry, they're a 5-point favorite for the game next. I think it's next weekend already. Jeez, it's going to fly by. It's either the next Saturday or the following Saturday. They're a 5-point favorite in Carolina, and that's with the expectation that Zion's out. That's just how good these players are. And then people talk about the lack of depth there because of the Zion injury and a couple other things. Well, Carolina's got 2 of their biggest, or technically 3, because Nasir Little only played like 10 minutes last night. But you've got Leaky Black, who's been out for a few games now. You have Sterling Manley, Panthers super fan. I sat with him at a game this year, the Bengals game. He hasn't played in like a month or 2. So Carolina was playing with just a short bench as Duke. So I don't think there's an asterisk. I don't hate Zion. Like I fell asleep, and then my wife woke me up when the game started. And that happened right in there. And she was doing something. I was like, oh my God. Like I almost threw up because I felt so bad for him hurting his knee like that.
Yeah.
Now
it looks like it's just a strain. Like doesn't seem anything serious.
I would be shocked if they played him again until the ACC tournament. I don't think there's any reason to rush that guy back. But Carolina won the game. They went 2 for 20 from 3. It's not like they just played lights out basketball. I think they just shut Duke down. It's what it is. Those guys couldn't handle, and those are alphas, dude. Like those guys, R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish, those are alphas. That's not playing with 3 Robins. Those guys should be able to like, oh, I'm the man. I was the man in AAU. I was the man in high school. I got this. But they just, for whatever reason.
We'll see if they can do it when it counts. But yeah, that's a huge win for UNC. I guess I don't know why, but I pick UNC over Duke. I have no ties to.
Well, you're not from New Jersey, so.
Yeah, down there, so we'll see. But back to my original point of Cam Newton at the All-Star game. Greg Olson also there meeting, by the way, at the Duke-UNC game, saying hi to Obama. That was fun.
Yeah, that was cool he was there.
But yeah, Cam at the NBA All-Star game talking to Barkley and Shaq. And, one thing that kind of resonated with me was Shaq was talking to Cam and saying, what was the exact quote? It was, before you succeed, you must first learn to fail. Kind of like an Alfred Batman quote. And he said that Michael Jordan said something like that to him. And it, it kind of asked Cam about not only what happened last year, but how they overcome this. And I really liked Cam's answer so much that I made it a soundbite. We haven't had a soundbite in a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and play this answer.
Man. Hit the button.
Play this answer from Cam Newton here. Let's see.
Man, listen, in order to get 2, you first got to get 1. And one thing about it, this beautiful city of Charlotte I call home now is yearning for sustained success. And, this past season, football season, early on we were winning, but in the latter part it didn't turn out the way we wanted to. And at the end of the day, I put a lot of blame on myself. And I will be better. And a lot of it stimulates on my health. But, moving forward, no need to cry over spoiled milk. The Carolina Panthers will be a team to be reckoned with in the next couple of years.
And I love that he says, "Cry, don't cry over spoiled milk." That's like a new Cam term. It's not spoiled milk.
We haven't had a Cam soundbite in a while.
We haven't had a Camism in a while. Yeah, spoiled milk is the new spoiled milk. No, and I like how he took responsibility for what happened, and obviously his health, like he said. But I love how he said how much he wants to win for the city of Charlotte, and that the Panthers are going to be a force to reckon with for many years to come. obviously kind of, I mean, we're not breaking the mold here as far as what people say when they're going into a season.
Right.
But I really like the accountability that Cam took on there. Kind of answering Shaq's question of, Shaq used the words, "You failed multiple times," which I hated. But he's, Super Bowl 50. This season was obviously a letdown, going with winning the 6 games early. And it seems like Cam wants this more than ever. Mm-hmm. And you've seen him on social media. Did you get that sense from Cam that this? I mean, everyone kind of rolls their eyes and says, "Here we go, Cam's pumped up for another season." But this seems a little different, right? Cam seems a lot more focused.
I think that Cam is always that ultra competitor, And to me, what I took away from this is, even though you called him out on the spoiled milk things, like Cam said what I think people wanted Cam to say, instead of deviating and going, the normal Cam route. Mm-hmm. I think that this is the kind of thing that if, Joe Blow 6969 on Twitter says, he's not a leader, he sees that and he's like, okay, yeah, I there's nothing I can take away from that and spin, So I think that makes some people happy. But to me, again, this kind of goes back to, you got to say what you got to say. And I think that was the only thing he could say. I'm just glad he got it out without finding a way to upset people.
Yeah, no, it's good. The spoiled milk's funny because he's not wrong. You can't cry over spoiled milk. I mean, you got to throw it away and move on.
Yep.
So, kind of like last season, but
the bottom line, you're not getting milk, just like the spilt milk.
Oh man. Anyway, we got to move on here. Chris, you came up with a cool idea this week. Basketball is in the air. March Madness, NBA All-Star Game, Duke
and it was
UNC.
that same Shaq interview with Cam that gave it to us. So
yeah. So all these things happening at once. You threw it out there today, and you said, "Hey, if you could draft a Panthers starting 5 basketball team, who would they be?" And we talked a little bit about if this should be all-time or current. I think it's more fun if we do all-time. So unfortunately, we don't have Bobby here, but maybe we can at least get his write in on Twitter or something. But and you guys, watching us here live on either Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. First of all, thank you. Second of all, send it in right in the comments. We'll read some of them online too. But me and you, Chris, we'll do it. I mean, it's kind of weird with 2 people, but we can do a snake.
No, we'll make it work.
We can do a snake draft still. We're gonna draft our all-time Panthers starting 5 in a basketball league. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
And I'm going to give the honors to you.
No, I insist. I'll defer.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first pick is basically a Zion, right? I mean, it's like a Zion, I should say. So if you're giving it to me,
there's one right answer here.
Yes, I of course will take Julius Peppers.
Okay. Yeah. Tar Heel legend. There's not a lot to hate about that pick. I mean, only player to play in a Super Bowl and a Final Four.
There you go.
Fun bit of trivia for you. Number 2. And I told you guys on Twitter, or on our chat, that you're never going to see this coming. But I got to take the man, the myth, the legend, LeVar Ball.
Oh,
he said he was better than Jordan. I mean, I've never seen him play, but if he says it, it's got to be true.
So did he ever play in a game?
He was signed to a contract with the Carolina Panthers.
No, I know, but I'm not saying he's ineligible. I'm actually asking you, did he ever play in a game?
I believe he was a practice. Dude, I just saw the replay of the Old Man Storm Surge. They flossed into a dab. So crossover review. But no, he never played a game. He was practice squad. I think he was cut during the Panthers' first training camp ever. So
okay. Well, that threw me off because I expected you to have Peppers, and I had kind of a vice versa pick as who I would put on Peppers.
Sure.
But now I'm going to move on to...
Wait, it's not your pick. It's my pick.
I thought you just picked. Oh, because it's a snake draft.
Snake
screw
draft.
you. Go ahead.
Snake draft.
Go ahead. You're up.
I am taking another blast from the past in the form of Keyshawn Johnson.
I like it. Height, speed,
athlete.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
He's a good power forward.
So I this might be a reach here for my first pick, but if we're gonna go players that actually played college basketball, Chris Manhertz, he played 94 starts in college basketball, averaged 6.5 points a game and 6.8 rebounds. Did you know that, Chris?
Kansas State, I think.
Yep. And he finished his career ranked 4th in school history, which I don't know if that's good for there, but 789 rebounds for the Golden Griffins.
Go team.
You like that?
Go team.
Pretty good.
Yep.
So it's my turn again.
Yep.
And this is such a cliche pick, but this is who I was going to have cover Peppers. I think there's only one person that you can have cover Peppers, and you have to take him in the top 2. Have to take Cam. We got to have swag. We got to have all that height. Yeah, I'm taking Cam.
I mean, he told us the other night that he could put up. What did he say? He'd put up 10 a night if they gave him the chance.
Yep. So you're up.
I am going to kind of stick with what you said and with the converted player, basketball football player, but I'm going to go Brandon Williams.
Oof.
Swole bones.
Bones. I like it.
Swole bones.
Okay. I should probably write these down.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, Cam could probably. I think Cam. I don't know who's the center of my team actually.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he got one, man.
We'll figure that out later. Bobby writing in. Bobby, by the way, writing in his own team here. I'm just going to read Bobby's team so we can get it out of the way quickly. He goes Cam, Smitty, Kuechly, and Peppers. I don't know if he's the 5th member, but I only got 4 people here, so we'll whatever. So anyway, you got Brandon Williams. Go ahead, you get your snake draft here.
Oh, I wrote it down as Swole Bones though because that was a sick nickname.
We'll see if that can fit on a jersey.
So back to me.
Yep.
For my final 2 picks, I've got my front line set there, so now I got to worry about my backcourt. And in that backcourt, I'm going with Agent 89 himself, Steve Smith. We saw him put up in the celebrity game the other night, so we know we can ball.
Okay, I worry about Smith doing that move with the. Was that Wee Man? Who was that? I don't even know.
I don't know. Yeah,
but yeah, it moved.
That is problematic.
Yeah,
but he's not often on an athletic field with somebody smaller than him. So
it's true.
So he's running point for me.
All right, so I'm gonna.
That's my pick.
You just picked 2 in a row.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you picked Swole Bones and you picked Smitty. How many picks do you think you get here, Chris? Jeez. I'm gonna take KK. Did you know that KK actually played college basketball?
Yeah.
He helped lead the Chicago Central Cardinals. Actually, wait, that might be high school.
That's high school. Yeah,
who cares? I'm just looking at. Yeah, no, that's not college basketball. That's high school basketball. Indiana 4A state championship for KK. Little bit of size there, but I get Pep, Cam, and Short. I mean, I don't know how you're coming to the hole.
Yeah, but I don't know how you're going to step out and guard.
I know how. I'm going to go with a zone defense monster.
Zone is for cowards,
and that's going to be Josh Norman.
Zone defense is for cowards.
The ball hawking zone defense of Den's team will have Josh Norman out on the perimeter. So
we got a comment here on the line. At NHL Canes wanted to let us know that Cam could probably play center too.
Ah, okay.
So, thanks for the shout out.
Heard of them?
Yeah, big deal. Bunch of jerks. And then all right, so I've got the final pick to clear it up here, and in this day and age,
I think we've only picked 4 each, right?
Wait, that's not 5 for you?
No.
We're not good at this. No, you got 4.
No, I get Pep, Cam, Manhurts, and K. Oh no, it is 5. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're right. Yep. Counting the 5's hard.
It's hard to call somebody Mr. Irrelevant in a 10-player draft, but this guy has never been irrelevant anywhere on the field or in our hearts. And I think you've got to have that tweener size swingman, if you will, that shooting guard. So I'm taking Thomas Davis there. We've seen videos of him in the locker room and whatnot. I think Thomas could probably ball. So, I'd have him in the backcourt with Steve Smith as my shooting guard.
I had TD there as a guy that could play through an injury. So,
well, he's an athletic freak.
But I also, as a honorable mention, I had to go with the hometown dude, Mackenzie Bernadotte from Waltham, Massachusetts. Well, that's where he went to school. And that's where he went to high school too. I'm sorry. He played
guard. What was he?
He can play center and guard. So he hopped in at center a little bit for the Panthers. He did play football, basketball, and track, and he's a local dude. So he was my 6th man. So.
All right. Well, my 6th man and my honorable mention is going to be Christian McCaffrey, because if he played basketball,
I'm surprised none of us took him.
His nickname would have been White Chocolate.
I don't know why we didn't take him, a Swiss Army knife. But I had to go with the guys that played hoops. I mean, I got Pep, Manhurts, and Short. I mean, and then Cam and Josh Norman. You can't. I don't know. I think I just took this down, Chris.
Well, we'll put a poll up.
Yeah, actually we will, and we'll throw Bobby's team in there too.
Oh wait, it doesn't matter because I have LeVar Ball, and as you know, he's never lost.
Big baller,
undefeated.
Anyway, that was fun. let's hop over to our last one here before we get to bring Jared on the line. We've been having too much fun tonight, but Stephen A. Smith, not I don't put Stephen A. in the category of like Coward and Skip. Do you?
No.
Like I feel like Stephen at least like usually knows what he's talking about.
He was the OG of that, and to be fair, he kind of made.
Well, he is a basketball guy, and now they kind of make him cover all the sports. And this year we've seen him forget Hunter Henry exists, or I'm sorry, what was on the IR. And just today, I think it was today, maybe it was yesterday, talking about Le'Veon Bell. Stephen A. circles the Panthers as a team that should go for Le'Veon Bell because they, quote, don't have any receivers. And what's his name? Is it Kellerman? Max Kellerman?
Yeah.
Was like, well, actually, they do have a guy, Christian McCaffrey, who's pretty underrated, and Stephen A. kind of backtracked. And then he still explained that he didn't oversee that. He actually still thinks that even with McCaffrey, Le'Veon Bell would work. Thoughts on that whole sentence that the Panthers should get Le'Veon Bell because they don't have any receivers?
Man, it's just classic Stephen.
Like you screwed up, right?
Talking to hear his head rattle.
But like, do you actually think that he like forgot that McCaffrey was on the Panthers, or do you think that he really thinks that?
No, I think that he probably did forget that we have McCaffrey. I mean,
interesting.
This guy's a hot take artist, at this point in the game, and it's just laying out the hot takes.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I mean, but then
you don't have to know facts.
There are people like on Twitter, on Panthers Twitter, that say, "Hey, listen, Le'Veon Bell and Christian McCaffrey would work. That'd be awesome." And like, obviously, that probably wouldn't not work.
Yeah, it's not. I don't hate the idea of it. It's just not going to happen. And then specifically for the reasons he said, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
so. And it's actually this is a great lead up into Jared, who's going to join us in just a second here. As far as and I'm going to ask Jared the same question. So it's we've seen what happened when C.J. Anderson was with Christian McCaffrey. What makes you think getting someone like Bell would work? Like, how do you not take McCaffrey off the field? Or can you if you have someone that good? And I think that's something the Panthers didn't know how to figure out this year. And leading up into the draft and leading up into the running back depth chart, I think that's something they're still figuring out. So I don't know if I don't think Le'Veon Bell is even a thought for the Panthers. It's gone. That's not even a possibility. And for Stephen A. to give that reason was just pretty funny today.
Yeah.
So hopefully Stephen A. is everything's okay with him. He's not going through anything. But we are we're having some fun tonight. So yeah, time's flying here. We're gonna go ahead and bring on our buddy Jared Feinberg. If you've been hanging on with us or joining our lives the last few weeks, Jared is our buddy from Twitter. He joins us on the line, talk about drafts. We've been going position by position instead of kind of flooding your minds with a million draft prospects. We go just by position, talk about a couple of them. Just a couple of reasons as to why he thinks they might fit. We'll bring him on now. I think he's on the line here. Jared, what's going on tonight, buddy?
Everything's going good, man.
There he is.
Been watching some Greedy Williams tape, seeing if maybe the Panthers could even take a corner at 16.
Ooh, there you go. We did have some. We do have some submitted questions regarding that, but and we'll get to those. But tonight I left it up to you. I said, hey, Jared, we've been talking about defense for a while. Let's switch it over to the offense. I'm going to let you go ahead and pick, what you want to talk about tonight. And I had the same exact thing in mind. I was like, I kind of hope he wants to talk about running backs. And you said running backs. And I was like, nice. Because the Stephen A. Smith comment, and also just, I was just playing Madden a little while ago, 21-3 victory, no big deal online. But you look at that running back depth chart, and it's Kenyon Barner, it's Cadet, it's Fozzie Whitaker, it's Cameron Artis-Payne, and I'm thinking to myself, these guys could all be gone. And is the running back spot, something that the Panthers would look to in the draft? As weird as that sounds, when you have someone like Christian McCaffrey, to say that that's a position that they're thin at might surprise some people. But it is one of the more unknown units right now, going into free agency. Like I just said a minute ago, C.J. Anderson didn't work here. And no one really understands why, because they saw him go play with Gurley and have some success. I mean, granted.
He thrived.
Yeah. So the biggest thing was, taking Christian McCaffrey off the field. And do you need a clone to McCaffrey? Do you need that type of guy, or can you go with another bruiser back? So, looking at the draft that's kind of in a hole, do you see the Panthers using a pick on a running back in early, or is that something that they might do late? Because when you look at free agency too, I mean, you got Jay Ajayi out there, you got TJ Yeldon. Mm-hmm. I mean, CJ Anderson is probably still one of the better guys out there in free agency. Is this a big draft area for you when you start charting this out?
A little bit, but it's not as big as a need as pass rusher and offensive line and safety. It's not as big of a concern, but for a back like Christian McCaffrey, who will probably be getting 20, 25 reps again next year, or 25 touches a game next year again, you're going to need a running back to, what's the word?
Relieve him?
Relieve.
Well, that might not be the best word, but I don't know if you guys have seen what's the word? What's the show? Abducted in Plain Sight. Don't watch it if you haven't, mm-hmm. But anyone that has, you'll get that joke. But yes, to relieve to give McCaffrey a break, basically.
I get it. My wife told me about that part.
Yeah. But like you were saying, Jared, what was the snap percentage for McCaffrey? I mean, the problem is you take him off the field, and the predictability of the Panthers' offense goes, I don't know how you describe that, up or down, but basically it gets easier or less to cover without him on the field. And I think that's what they started to realize with C.J. Anderson, is that pulling McCaffrey off the field really hindered their offense. So even if you get a bruiser back, I mean, isn't that you bring him on the field? And I think that's what happened with CJ, is they said, okay, CJ Anderson's in there. Well, they're not going to pass to the back. That's a problem, right?
It's a little bit of a problem. I mean, Carolina could use a bruiser running back, but like you said, it could be very predictable if McCaffrey's on the field and you see a big power back in the backfield, and you're like, okay, yeah, they're probably going to run the ball here if it's 3rd and short or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think they're going to let Cam Newton do that short yardage stuff and all that. But a couple guys that I think could relieve McCaffrey and still be a big threat in terms of making plays out of the backfield as a pass catcher, or even maybe running some zone plays or whatever. A couple backs are Justice Hill out of Oklahoma State. He's got great balance. He's a speedster, good vision, great pass protector. He's not the biggest back. Okay, he's actually a little bit smaller than McCaffrey, but just a few inches taller. Justice Hill could be a candidate. Darwin Thompson out of Utah State, a lot of draft Twitter folks are high on him. Some are saying he's the next Tariq Cohen, and I think he could be a big-time threat on the field if he gets the opportunity. Another back is James Williams out of Washington State. I believe he led college football in receptions by a running back last year, and that's huge.
Well, I think that's
running backs that can.
That's one of the big to me. You can't get you shouldn't get someone that's opposite of McCaffrey. You shouldn't go with, say, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess CJ. I don't know if I call him an opposite, but like you said, I think that when it comes to an RB2 in Carolina, I think that we see kind of what the Falcons do a lot with Freeman and Coleman. I feel like those two guys have a similar skill set. Kamara and Ingram are a little further off, but Do you think that people always say that running backs complement each other? I was excited for people like Cadet and Hood, and just because of the way that they excelled in the passing game. Do you think,
Right.
like, how high do you value them in the passing game as a running back? Because that whole position has really changed. No, you're not going to get a bruising, just three down back that you can just slam up the middle and take McCaffrey off the field. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're not going to get him where you're going to take him in the draft. So are we looking at almost more of the receiver type? Does that make sense?
It does, and I agree that Panthers could probably end up looking at a receiver option out of the backfield, like the names are listed: Justice Hill, Darwin Thompson, James Williams. Those type of backs could be very beneficial for Carolina's offense. When I watched all three of these guys on tape, like I said with Darwin Thompson, Tariq Cohen, Justice Hill, haven't really found a good comparison with him, and I think he's just like a player of his own, like thin, small, but he's got great balance and he'll get the job done. James Williams, he reminds me of a little bit of James White from New England. I think he can have some sort of role that James White has with New England.
That'd be fun.
That he could have with Carolina.
That's quite the role.
Williams were to be drafted.
Yeah. And then you look at DJ Moore, you look at Curtis Samuel and what they can do getting the ball kind of as a running back. Alex Arma already there. So there's a lot of kind of different pieces already there. It's the depth chart that worries me. We have no idea how what that depth chart's going to look like under McCaffrey. It could be 4 different names, and just how they play, what kind of player they are. We don't know that. And I don't know if the Panthers will go for that position in free agency. Like I said, the name's out there. Who knows? Maybe they bring C.J. Anderson back. He's a free agent. So, really interesting.
And
go ahead.
And you noted Jay Ajayi earlier, a talented running back who a couple of years ago was a really good running back for the Miami Dolphins and he has Pro Bowl potential. But coming out of college and is so concerned today is his durability. Like, how is he going to stay up for 16 games a year? We don't know, because I don't think he's even had a full healthy season to this point of his career. But he's still a very talented running back, and he could potentially be an option for Carolina in free agency.
Well, and the funny thing is, like Chris, you always mention Panic Room Hood, and Reggie Bonifant too. And when you look at, and I think those guys actually might be some of the names that you're going to see back there, because you start looking at, I have the Panthers unrestricted free agents listed here by position, and I'm just looking at a glaring group of running backs. It's all of them. It's Artis Payne, Whitaker, Barner, and Cadet. So, I think that the cap experiment's over. Fozzie's been good. I just don't know if you keep going with that. Barner, I'm not sold on. I don't even know why they re-signed him. And Cadet really didn't do anything. So I don't know. I think you might see some of those guys competing in camp, Chris. I know you'd be pumped to see Hood make the team, huh?
Yeah, I just the guys you just mentioned, the free agents. I don't know why you would even make an effort to bring those guys back. I think see what you got with Hood, Bonifant. I don't even think Bonifant was a running back in college for some reason. I think he was. Gosh, was he like a converted quarterback or something? So could he be the next Julian Edelman? Who knows?
There you go. Yeah. Well, I think if you are a wide receiver or vice versa, if you're a quarterback and you have the skill set to play wide receiver, I think that's such a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Because you get both sides of it.
It is.
Yeah. So. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
There is the possibility that Carolina could be wanting a two-headed monster at running back, and they could end up going with a running back potentially in the second round, because I really like the offensive line and pass rusher depth in this year's draft. So I wouldn't be shocked if they took a running back in the second round. And
that's what I'm thinking.
That I think
yeah.
could
I'm thinking I'm thinking a running back might come earlier than a lot of people expect. But
yeah, I'd be shocked if they did it before the third round.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking like third round.
Third round would be perfect. Second round,
well, and you said
earlier than expected, but yeah.
You said the two-headed monster. It's funny when you look at some of the best offenses in the NFL, the Saints, the Patriots. I'll put Atlanta up there. They have that, So I think that is something that a lot of people circle in being able to get. But I think the Panthers had a tough time figuring it out, and I think they always have. And even with Stu and McCaffrey, didn't really gel that well. He felt like he was holding McCaffrey back. So how do you get that balance of we have a two-headed monster, but we're using it correctly? And I think that's something that Norv has to figure out, right?
Yeah, it would be nice to have so many weapons on offense that defenses will just have to prepare for every week. If you have a two-headed monster with McCaffrey and a running back like David Montgomery out of Iowa State, who's a well-known running back around the media, if you have those two in the backfield, along with guys like DJ Moore at wide receiver, DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel at wide receiver, Greg Olsen, Ian Thomas, Cam Newton, and the dual threat he is.
Yeah, that's
so much for defense to prepare for.
That's a lot of things that people forget.
It's just mind blowing. Think about that.
Is that Cam leads this team a lot most of the year, or has led the team a lot of years in rushing. So that adds in there too. But anyway, Jared, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for telling us about the running backs, man. We're really accumulating a list of some of these guys to look for on draft day down in Nashville, April 25th. Chris, we'll be there. We'll be live on site. We'll talk to you, Jared. We'll like I said, we'll see what I'm assuming some of these names will be around at the pick and see where the Panthers go. But what's up?
Speaking of the draft,
yes,
I saw something on Facebook. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's something from the Charlotte Turbine said that the Panthers have reportedly put a bid in for the 2020 to host the 2020.
Yep, I actually sent that out to Chris and Bobby. So I think that the All-Star weekend,
the four of us could meet up.
There you go.
Big show. We're ready to go, man.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be hype.
I think that the All-Star weekend, like I said, Chris, I think that really helped out Charlotte, and I think that bids for things like the draft, we won't go quite as far as WrestleMania and Super Bowl, but I think that you could see, the NFL draft, very, very possible landing spot in Charlotte, I would say.
And I think Charlotte would be a great host for it.
Yeah. So where would you put the draft in Charlotte, Chris?
Perfect city.
I think, I thought about that when you sent me that article. And it's, man, I wouldn't want to put it out there on the practice fields because, they'll probably be something completely different. I know they're putting the bubble out there this year. But, the main gate where the Jerry statue is, now you've got a reason to maybe move that statue and forget to put it back. That could be a good space, but I don't know that that's big enough. Then I started thinking about the park. I think it's Romare Barden Park right across the street. Two blocks down, I guess. Something in there. I also thought that maybe if you do it inside the stadium or possibly inside the night stadium, because you could get a ton of people down there on the field. But I got a feeling that this year, and not to pour cold water on it, but like the way Nashville's setting it up, right down Broadway. Yeah. There's just not a space in Charlotte where I think you could do it that way.
What about the Roaring Riot office parking lot? No?
Well, we could have one hell of a party.
Anyway, if it's in Charlotte, Jared, we'll have a fun time. But we'll look forward to you hopping on next week. Again, I have no idea. We'll just kind of let the week play out. Running backs were a good topic this week, especially with that Stephen A. news. So we'll bring it back next week. We've already done safeties. We've done edge rushers. We've done talked about the defense as a whole. Now we've talked about running backs, and we'll hit it with you again next week. Again, Jared's over.
And I'll
go ahead.
Go ahead and say this. I think we're due for some offensive line talk. So
I think that's the big one. Yeah.
Where I'm leaning at a little bit.
I'm into that. Jared's over at JRod Draft Scout on Twitter. Definitely check out his stuff. Been doing big boards and just really prepping us for the draft and getting to know some of these players. So we, again, thank you for hopping on with us. Jared Feinberg, we'll talk to you next week. All right, man?
Man.
Have a good one.
Thanks, buddy.
Sounds good.
Peace. Later.
See you guys.
And that's our good friend Jared. He lends us his ear and his words each week. Chris, we are flying up on the time here, but
man, jeez.
I did want to, it was because someone went on for like 4 hours about hockey, but that person's, we won't mention them, but
yeah, just a jerk.
But we did have some friends submitted questions. We throw out some questions on Twitter. Do like for you guys to kind of be a part of the show here, kind of add in topics, also sometimes things we don't think of that add to the conversation here. So we took 2 of them this week. Let's go ahead and pull them up here. Our friend on Twitter, at Jack's Panther fan. I don't know if that's a Jacksonville native who's a Panther fan.
There's
just
a Jacksonville,
guessing.
North Carolina, too.
Okay. So. I don't know. That's at Jack's Panther fan, one of our good followers. I actually talk to them a lot. Brings up a good point here. Ross Cockrell, I mentioned being a very important piece, I think, if he can play, of the Panthers secondary, because again, I think that you're going to have to fill that Captain Munnerlyn role. Cockrell has played the slot. I think he was outside in New York. But he has played the slot in college, coming into the NFL. But yeah, him coming off a broken leg. There are a few intriguing cornerback prospects. Is Cockrell okay? And do you see the Panthers drafting another cornerback?
I think that they'll definitely draft another cornerback, but dude, I'm totally happy with running out, your 3 starters, because let's be real, nickel's a starter these days, with running out the combination of Bradbury, Dante Jackson, and Ross Cockrell.
Well, because the other names you got there, I don't know what's up with Seymour.
Well, come on, man.
I'm just saying. Lorenzo Doss is out there.
Come on, man.
What about my man Cornelder? You at least have like, honestly, the cornerback depth chart is like better right now than the running back depth chart.
But dude, it's so top heavy though.
It is, but
like the difference is on the depth chart is you've got one body on the running back depth chart.
So if you have Cockrell, right? I guess the question here is his leg being concerning. Is this? I guess the overall question is cornerback a free agency destination, or is it the draft? Because there are intriguing guys out there. I brought up Callahan, right? We don't
have any money, dude. We don't have any money.
Yeah, but you can still get someone that's at least better than Cornelder or Lorenzo Doss, and not have to break
and you
the
can
bank.
get that person in the 5th round, and they can probably return punts.
Is that person Captain Munnerlyn? No, but Captain's money is just too much.
Yeah,
I mean, it's if they were paying Captain a lot less, I don't think it'd be as big of an issue.
Yeah, I agree.
So your answer to that was, should we draft one? You say yes. Okay.
I say draft, not sign.
I say you could take I'd say you can take a kind of flyer on a late round cornerback.
And and the thing is, like, people pull good cornerbacks out of the 5th round all the time.
I mean, Josh Norman, what round was he?
7th?
Oh, he was all the way in the 7th.
No, Captain was a 7th. I'm sorry. Josh might have been a 5th.
I think he was a 6th.
Or
a 5th.
Hey, that's still the point.
That's still around the area, yeah.
Do you know what you can't find late in the draft?
What's that?
Good pass rushers.
True.
Like, I saw a list the other day.
Well, so
there are only 3 guys in like the last 20 years drafted after the 3rd round that had ever got double-digit sacks in a season. Something like that.
Yeah. So, well, the good thing is, like, when you take these 2 positions that we've been talking about specifically, running back and cornerback, those are guys that can come late, especially with an RB2. Yeah,
I agree.
I
mean, Kareem Hunt was what, a 3rd round pick?
Yeah, I know Kamara was a 2nd round. Hunt.
Yeah, there's plenty of good running backs in the back of the draft.
Yeah. So anyway, at Jack's Panther fan, I hope Cockrell's okay. If Cockrell, like I said, if Cockrell can come back, and a lot of people forget that the secondary on paper with him is so much better.
Right.
And he was playing really well in camp, and I mean, that's him. Cockrell was the number 1 cornerback in New York. You put him, Jackson, and Bradbury out there with Eric Reed.
Totally good with that.
I'm not worried.
Yeah.
But to the question, if he's not okay, yeah, it certainly
I
gets
think
a little more alarming.
he's going to have almost a full year because he was a week 1 or week 2 preseason injury.
Mm-hmm.
It was in camp.
It was in
so
camp. I don't think he even played a game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like the Ben-Wickery situation where he got hurt in the playoffs. They rushed him back. His conditioning wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then gets torched for 600,000 yards by Melty Ice and Julio. So I think that I think he'll be back, and I'm totally fine with that.
Okay. Well, let's hop over to question 2 here. A similar one regarding a position in the draft. Since we likely aren't signing another receiver, would you draft A.J. Brown? We were talking about him from Ole Miss, Chris, off the air. Projected to probably go in the first round, but the question is if he's still there in the second round, generally against drafting a receiver early, but think his skill set is too tempting. So let me kind of rephrase this question. If there's a guy like that at receiver, you just have too many holes, right? You still can't take someone like that.
It's almost like the.
I'm not saying he's not good, and he's jacked.
No, yeah, he's shredded. Yeah. But it's almost it reminds me of the Shaq Thompson pick. Like, not a knock on the player at all. Shaq's been really good, but that we already had an embarrassment of riches, and I know they were preparing for Thomas Davis's retirement, which he still hasn't done 4 years later. But they took that guy when they really probably could have done without a linebacker and let Landon Collins go a couple picks later.
Would you say that the Vernon Butler pick falls into that kind of a category?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that was, a position of strength, and they knew they were going to lose Starr the following year. So that's why they made that. So those were Uncle Dave picks, not Marty.
So love it or hate it. I mean, I think that
I don't hate it. I think that's good value in the second round. I just don't know that that's the fit for us because we've got too much tied up in not Christian, but DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel.
And Will Bryan today putting out a bunch of stats. One of them was that Carolina wide receivers accounted for 199 receptions last year, and that's the most catches by the receiver group in Panthers franchise history.
And I sent it out to you guys a couple weeks ago, too. It was the most fantasy points group of Panthers receivers that ever put up.
Now, and this has been pointed out, that some of the big DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel plays were runs.
Sure.
Does that matter to you? Because
does it matter to me that a quarterback can score touchdowns on the ground?
I guess no. I guess that is basically the same thing. But some people say, well, that's not because of their receiving abilities. And yeah, there's a little bit of truth to that. I mean, how many times did Curtis take a big run to the house? I mean, a lot of those weren't catches per se. And I get that.
So he's a weapon, which I like.
Exactly. So with Will's stat about the receivers, I think your receiving depth chart, you at least have to call that your depth chart now. You can't just keep pushing Samuel down. And, you can't just keep, drafting these guys but not playing them. I think that
dude, week 1, your number ones are DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel and Jarius Byrd in the slot.
Jarius Wright.
Jarius Wright, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that.
And
they're going to add a body in free agency, and they'll probably add a body in the draft.
Again, I think Jarius Wright was such a highlight last year, but that also went under the radar, and I think that even an increased role for him would be awesome. So yeah, I get John D. Elliott threw this in on Twitter. I get it. It's tough to say no to something like that, but I think that you've pushed this depth chart down too much, that you have too many holes, that you just have to ignore that.
Yep.
So anyway, thanks for I say that all the time.
I got one off Twitter over here.
Okay, what you got?
I got our pal Gary. He wants to know if you want to start a Den's Dugout Talk or Bobby's Bullpen Calls for some baseball action. For
baseball, only if we can get that little kid who's the Yankees fan that was on Twitter. But you know who I'm talking about.
I can't say anything because my kid would be the exact same way.
Dude, but the fact he knew a lot. I got to give him that. Like you said, his dad probably has a Damon jersey. He probably doesn't understand that that's happened a bunch.
Yeah.
But hey,
in his eyes, Roger Clemens never played for the Red Sox. Sure.
you got to applaud the effort,
Right.
So, good stuff, good stuff. And yeah, shout out to Gary for always giving us ideas. And tomorrow is Hot Take Friday, which I've brought back. I haven't decided what it's going to be, but we'll see. We're up in the hour here, but just a few quick things, just news today. Damian Parms did sign I don't even know what the deal was, but he did re-sign with the Panthers. He was an exclusive right free agent. He was last season on the IR with his shoulder injury that he also suffered in preseason. Hey, Kyle Allen got given his own Bird scooter by Bird.
Yeah, I got a bone to pick.
Yeah, what's
Bird
up with
here.
that?
I love Bird. I am a Bird guy. I will.
And he was hiding it?
Yeah, and that's my issue.
Because if you do that, you get in trouble, right?
Exactly.
I don't know these things because I'm in Boston and we can't even have happy hours. So let alone
we can't have them here either.
Let alone fun scooters.
Yeah. The thing is, if you get caught hiding them, they suspend your account and whatnot. He was advertising he was hiding it, and they reward him. I get it, hashtag influencer, and you got to have those types of things. But I would probably find somebody more high profile than Kyle Allen.
The first time and only time.
Not a shot at my cousin Kyle, but
well, the first and only time I read a scooter, and I think it was a Bird, was with you in Atlanta. And I told
that time of your life, wasn't it?
Yeah, I told that story. It's just they're fun, but they are nowhere near my city. So.
Yeah, Birds are like jet skis for millennials. They're never going to be able to afford jet skis. And
jet skis are awesome.
This is the closest I'll ever get to the unbridled joy of just cranking down on a jet ski.
Anyway, more exciting news. Hey, Meredith Starkey, named Panthers chief marketing officer, worked for T-Mobile. T-Mobile's always had some pretty good ads, so I'm into that. I've had T-Mobile, the uncarrier, they call themselves. So,
and you're leaving one key thing about her out.
All my tweets. What's that?
She's a Clemson legend.
Oh,
she's a girl from the Carolinas. Gotta love that.
T-Mobile powers my Twitter obsession, so I'm into that. So anyway, yeah, that's a cool story, cool bio on her written up on Panthers.com. Go check it out.
Yeah, shout out to potential sponsors T-Mobile.
Jim Skipper did retire. He coached for 15 of the past 17 seasons. Retired at age 70. Shout out to PFT commenter too for his Kelvin Benjamin
Hall of Fame
comment. On that. Kurt Coleman got released by the Saints today. Chris, you and a bunch of people on Twitter have given me the hard no, but I said, you know what, I could see that being a move the Panthers would make to feel comfortable back there.
But why? That's
I'm not necessarily
Uncle Dave guy. That's
I'm
not
not necessarily saying they should do that, but I don't think Kurt was bad here. He's 30 years old. You think he's done. I don't know if he's done. We just had Mike Adams back there. He's 37.
Sure.
So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they at least talk or try to work something out. I don't know. If we can get Kurt Coleman on the cheap, even if he's a depth guy like he was in New Orleans, I wouldn't be mad. You apparently think they should ignore it.
I wouldn't be mad, but the safety market has been, just flush the last few seasons.
Yeah.
We're not getting a Honey Badger type player.
Well, maybe not. I've been talking to him a lot on Twitter.
You want to make a bet?
I'm putting in a lot of work on the Honey Badger.
he's
Do you call him the Honey Badger, or is it just Honey Badger?
Just Honey Badger.
Okay.
Yeah. He's not Ohio State. So, I was gonna say, but I guess that came off. We only had. I was gonna say it'd be funny to bring him back because we had dead cap money on him in 2018, but we didn't have it in 2000 going into next season. So,
got you.
It's been ironic. We owe him. We're paying him for cutting him, and then we re-sign him.
Hey. It's fluid.
Yep, not a knock on him, man. Dude was a 7th round pick. He got a big contract, got a second decent contract. Best wishes, have a happy life.
Finally, we talked about wide receivers in the draft or free agency. We talked about Torrey Smith, kind of what you do with him. Mark Sessler from the NFL Network says the Panthers should look at Tyrell Williams from the Chargers. Much better year than Torrey Smith. Deep threat, kind of fills that Torrey Smith role, possibly with less of a cap hit and a little more speed. We talked about the draft, Chris. Do you see any value in finding kind of a Torrey Smith replacement in free agency like that? Even if you have to pay maybe a tiny bit more than you would have wanted to?
Again, I think
you still only you just mentioned DJ, Curtis, and Jarius.
Yeah.
But then what do you got? You know.
Okay.
What I'm saying?
Well, here's my thought, and I just kind of did the Freudian slip there. The Saints can save $2.5 million by cutting Ted Ginn Jr. So, just throwing that out there. I mean, you're talking about your fourth or fifth wide receiver now.
Well, that's what the conversation is. Where do those guys come from? Do you draft them?
Is that guy a seventh round pick, or is that guy somebody you pull out and give a $750,000 deal to?
If you can find like another Jarius Wright that can stretch the field, why not? Right?
Sure.
I don't know.
Right. Younger and cheaper.
I don't think he'll be that cheap, but as far as market value was like $3 million a year or something. But
younger and cheaper.
But I don't know. It's an option. Anyway, this has been fun, Chris. I'm glad that you are enjoying your Hurricanes.
Yeah, it's fun in Raleigh again.
That matchup's coming up right in March. The Whalers uniforms.
March 5th, I think.
So I know the Bruins are doing good. They just made that trade. They got Donato out of here. So look at me. I can talk about hockey now too. What's up?
But who'd they get?
Coyle.
Charlie Coyle.
Yeah. And he's from. Both of them are from Massachusetts.
There you go.
So that's fun. Weymouth, Massachusetts.
I think it's pronounced Weymouth.
It's definitely not Weymouth.
It's definitely spelled Weymouth.
And so is Worcester and all that stuff. But
yeah,
we didn't even talk about Greg Olsen. I get worried that that deal is backloaded.
I thought you were going to say he was wearing Duke stuff at the game last night.
No. I just mean that when you start looking at his contract, people are asking if he's going to retire, if they'll cut him. I don't think the Panthers really can cut him.
Yeah.
It's going to be more of a wait till he retires, which...
There's no reason to cut him.
Yeah.
I mean...
Because that was also a question that, I'm sorry, didn't make the show, but was about tight ends. Do you draft another tight end?
It just made the show.
It did make the show. Do you draft a tight end? What's the depth? What's that depth chart looking like? Because it's starting to get a little crowded. You get Vanderland, you get Manhurts, you get Thomas, and you get Olsen.
Well, and they just re-signed Manhurts to 2 years, right?
Right. So, anyway, we can talk about that another day. That's just something on the horizon. Is how long does Greg really have here? Of course, one of my favorite, I would say, Panther, at least, if not football player, period. So I'm not pushing him out the door, but that is a good question. So thank you for that.
What's he on the hook for this year? $6.5 million or something?
7.
Okay. There's no way he's walking away from that.
Yeah, and
he's got to do is try. Cam forbid. I hope he doesn't get hurt again. But it's tough to walk away from that kind of money. He's not. They haven't made. ESPN hasn't made any changes to their broadcast booth.
Unless there's a broadcasting deal.
Yeah, that'd be the only way I could see him.
I think that he would have I feel like Olsen would have more of a future with Fox, because CBS has their Romo, ESPN's screwed with Witten and them, and I feel like if Olsen is going to go somewhere, I think that Fox is likely for him. Maybe not. Do you not agree with that? I think we lost Chris. Anyway, this is a good time. We're going to wrap it up here. Yeah, I have no idea what happened with Chris. But hey, thanks for hopping on with us. This was fun. Thanks for submitting your questions. Thanks to Jared for hopping on. And thanks to you guys that submitted your top 5 basketball teams. We'll retweet some of those out. And I have no idea where Chris went. So we'll talk to you guys later. Keep pounding.